Okay, so this is by response to a post of some screenshots regarding business filings with Louis, and how Louis no longer has any business relationship with any entity associated with Simon Cowell. And a couple of posts circulated in a few of the fandom groups, and when I posted these screenshots in the comment section or the community post section, a couple of responses were like, say more, say more. So this is saying more about it, and what this paperwork actually means. And also I was curious what the 9 in the 369 term that also is circulating the fandom, what it means. So I'm kind of adding that in. So over the last few days, there has been a couple of buzz circulating across Larry Stylinson and Louis Tomlinson fandom spaces. So like I said, screenshots, company filings, and some old documents resurfacing. And then the comment of we're in the 9 phase of 369 or variations of it. So some of the fans are celebrating. Some people are like confused because like, what does it mean? And then others are also concerned about how is the information being conveyed? Because like with anything online, it doesn't take much for the message to kind of get changed and scrambled and whatnot. So I wanted to kind of, look into this because I was curious too. So let's see. So what is factual and why this was emotionally significant to our fandom, even though changes in corporate filings and officers of a corporation, why it is not, it's not like huge in a way, because, people change their executive management team all the time, but it is noteworthy. So let's see. So let's start with the screenshot. So they referenced Louis Simon Cowell and a UK company filing called Triple Strings Limited, and then filings from Companies Home, which is the UK's corporate registry of all business entities in the country. What these documents show is administrative change. So no takeover, no merger, no transfer of ownership. In plain language, Simon Cowell was removed as a director of Triple Strings Limited in 2020. And for compliance purposes, any change in the board of directors and or corporate officers, that has to be filed with the with the UK Companies House. And so the company of Triple Strings Limited has largely been dormant, meaning kind of inactive for years. Louis Tomlinson was previously listed in association with it, but he's no longer a director or a person of any significant control in the business structure. Now, later filings from 2025 show lawyers and intermediaries stepping away from any Louis-related touring entities, and that's pretty much it on what the documents show. So there's, like I said, there's no ownership transfer, there's no real power shift, and it does not mean that Louis owns any kind of One Direction as a corporation. So this is standard corporate compliance paperwork, quiet paperwork, but it's the quietness of it that matters. So that's in a nutshell what it means. If anybody is a corporate lawyer versed in UK business compliance law and has more to add, please comment below. If my information is somewhat wrong, also please correct me in the comments below. So that's what it means in a nutshell, but what does it not mean? So it doesn't mean that Louis owns, like, say, Sony UK, or he owns One Direction, the corporation, or that Simon Cowell was fired by Louis, or vice versa, or that some legal emancipation announcement is coming, because a director is not equal to owner, a dormant is not equal to powerful, and then removal is not equal to promotion. So if this were a major industry shift, it would not be discovered via these screenshots on Twitter years later by somebody going through filings from previous fiscal periods. and this is important, it does not mean that fans are wrong to feel something. So like that two realities can coexist, even if on the surface they may seem like they're contradictory, because the fandom is not, we're not reacting to power, we're reacting to, once again, our favorite thing to do, pattern recognition, and we're reacting to pattern. But this does feel meaningful. And why does it feel meaningful anyway? So Larry's have never been driven by press releases, because we all know about these PR machinations. The fandom, One Direction fandom, Larry fandom, Louis fandom, Harry fandom is driven by noticing the periods of silence, the timing of announcements by the artists themselves, symbolism in their material and in their own communications on their platforms, as well as repetitions in all its forms. And what fans are seeing here is not domination, it's disentangling. So quiet separation from legacy contracts, psycho-era structures and business entities, and intermediaries who existed between artists and autonomy. So not all freedom arrives with fireworks, FYI. Sometimes freedom arrives as a lawyer stepping back, a company going dormant but not dissolving, and a name quietly disappearing from a filing without any fanfare. And this is why it resonated emotionally in the fandom buzz. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's incremental. All right, and so this is where the 369 phrase. So we are in phase 9 of 369. I saw somebody else posted that, and I've seen variations of that comment referencing the 369. And I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what it was. So apparently it's not a legal theory, it's not a timeline, it's not a prediction. The best I could say is it's sort of a bit of a fandom numerology story arc. So again, veteran fans, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. So in Larry Space's 369 kind of has a symbolic shorthand, like many things, and it's referencing these emotional story arcs. So the 3 apparently means awareness, the 6 is a constraint, looping, tension, and 9 is a completion, release, and settling. So yeah, because if you look at it in terms of number theory, like it's in patterns of 3s. It's like exponential numbers, 3 to 6 to 9. Or no, actually no, it's like multiplication table, like the 3 times multiplication table, 3, 6, 9, 12, 50. Okay. So that was my first thought. So when fans say we're in the 9, they're not saying something big drops tomorrow. It looks like it's a message saying the tension feels like it's resolving, like things happen in phases of 3, like beginning, middle, end, right? So that's kind of the parallel I was sort of seeing when I kind of looked at the use of the 369. But again, I'm not a psycholinguistics expert. So again, someone tell me if I'm completely off base here. So in my opinion, it kind of seems to function as emotional processing language, but not forecasting. And more importantly, I get the sense that it's like a catchphrase or uh, like a in inner Larry slang built for patience, not urgency. All right, so where's the 369 and its connection to Larry Stylinson? Well, okay, so let's look at some history here. So Larry fandom has always operated on the long timelines because our Louis, he is so smart. He plays the long game. That's how you know that somebody's a strategist. They play the long game. So long timelines means years, decades, and not moments. Because how long have we had Larry Stylinson? 16 years, 2010. And so the 369 phrase sort of fits that kind of psychology of playing the long game, because it discourages panic, discourages forcing an outcome, and it reframes waiting as progress. So it's like progress is progress, and progress has its tempo. So it's like, even if nothing public happens, something internal is shifting. It's like, it's when you bake a cake, right? It's like it's in the oven for like what, 15 minutes, but nothing is it's not that nothing's happening in the 50 minutes, it's just everything's happening. It's the slow burn. And so that's why I think, in my opinion, is why the quote keeps sort of popping up every now and then, because it reveals this sentiment of freedom come in little things, not in big gestures, which to me, again, I think that's peak Larry logic, because Larry's played a long game. That's why they're brilliant analysts and brilliant archivists. And in a way, this symbolic uh, metaphor of this of 369, the phrase, it matches reality almost far more closely than any grand reveals ever have, because kind of like the tortoise and the hare, slowly but surely, the tortoise won the race, right? Okay, so let's see. So that's kind of my takeaway on the surfacing of these old filings, and also the 369 phrase I've been seeing. And so in a nutshell, the what they represent is not ownership or victory or confirmation, but it represents a kind of closure energy that is happening in the subtly dramatic. And then it can be seen in the greater totality of the Larry story as kind of breathing some energy into the collective that senses that the loud years are over, that um, whatever the story was about needing to have stunts or have like these PR machine driven relationships and headlines, that it no longer needs to be there as a countermeasure defense of Larry, because it's almost like Larry prevailed. And I guess that's what the 9 and the 369 means. It's not necessarily revelation, but it's a number resolution. So, and the reason I said like fandom numerology is that if you look at numerology, like there is astrology and then there's numerology, and like numerology, I'm not saying I endorse it because I'm not as versed in numerology, but numerology has this thing about there's only like personal year, like depending on your date of birth, you're in a certain personal year. So personal years run from year 1, which is new beginnings, to year 9, which is like the closure, and then you start all over again the next year. So that the 9 is the closure year. So that that's another kind of symbol of the number 9. And paperwork, um you know actually, well, let me backtrack. So Larry Stylinson and its storyline and it as a zeitgeist has never been about demanding answers. It's been more about recognizing patterns that exist without the need for explanation. And with the paperwork, it's quiet. The symbolism at times is quiet, but it can be super dramatic. Just like how Louis' Icon magazine photo layout had one photo of him sort of like sitting down near a wall, and then in the wall there's like pictures of Bowie and Jagger, and did a whole video on that one. So the symbolism is quiet, and only the people that are really paying attention see it. But when they see it, they know what it means. It does not need a narrative to like explain it. And so in that sense, the shifting of the shifting of how the artists are even represented in their lyrics, and just as a persona, is also quiet. And maybe that is the point, because some stories don't end with huge major announcements and reveals. They end with the tension leaving the room, because not everything meaningful arrives loudly. And then some things just stop needing explanation.